Robert Whiting is a best-selling author and journalist who has written several successful books on contemporary Japanese culture, which include topics such as baseball and American gangsters operating in Japan. He was born in New Jersey, grew up in Eureka, California, and graduated from Sophia University in Tokyo. He has lived in Japan for a total of more than 3 decades since he first arrived there in 1962, while serving in the U.S. Air Force. He currently divides his time between homes in Tokyo and California. Background: since relocating to Japan, Whiting first came to Japan with U.S. Air Force intelligence in 1962. "I was going to Humboldt State University and was about to flunk out. I had all sorts of problems," Whiting said in an interview with Gavin Blair in 2013 for the #1 Shimbun. "I was going to get drafted, so I joined the Air Force." Whiting was assigned to work for the National Security Agency in the U-2 program in Fuchu, Tokyo. He was offered a job working for the NSA when his tour with the Air Force was about to end, but he chose instead to study at Tokyo's Sophia University, where he majored in political science. In order to supplement his income while studying on the GI Bill, Whiting tutored Tsuneo Watanabe in English. Watanabe was a reporter for the Yomiuri Shimbun at the time, but is now the chairman of the board of the newspaper, which has the highest circulation in the world. Whiting wrote his thesis on the factions of Japan's Liberal Democratic Party. His professor, Dr. Eureka, gave him an A on the project, though he tempered his praise for Whiting's scholarship. "Your research is outstanding," he told Whiting, "but you really should learn how to write." Whiting graduated from Sophia in 1969, and Lt. Whiting's research into the ties binding Japan's leading politicians to Yakuza bosses gained him entree into the Higashi Nakano wing of Tokyo's largest criminal gang, the Sumiyoshi, where he became an informal advisor. He worked for Encyclopedia Britannica Japan as an editor until 1972, until, in his words, he got bored of being a gaijin and moved to New York City, where he wrote his first book, The Chrysanthemum and a Bat. He later returned to Tokyo and worked for Time Life for a year before becoming a freelance author and Lt. writing career. Whiting's works on baseball include The Chrysanthemum and a Bat, the game Japanese player Yugotta wa slugging it out in Japan, an American major leaguer in the Tokyo outfield, and The Meaning of the Chiro, the new wave from Japan, and The Transformation of Our National Pastime, all of which have been published in English and Japanese. Yugotta wa is a work about Japanese society as seen through their adopted sport of baseball. It was a Book of the Month Club selection, a Casey Award finalist, and a Pulitzer Prize nominee. Though considered an excellent book on baseball, like most of Whiting's sports writing, it examines much larger issues concerning Japan as well. David Halberstam stated that what you read is applicable to almost every other dimension of American-Japanese relations. The book has been required reading in the Japanese studies departments of many American universities, as well as at the Japan desk in the U.S. State Department. It sold 125,000 copies in hardcover and trade paperback and is in its 23rd printing. It was published in Japanese by Kadokawa under the title Wa wo Mot Nippon to Nasu. It sold 200,000 copies in hardcover and paperback editions. In September 1991 it appeared in a list of the best non-fiction books ever published in Japan, compiled by Honno Hanasahi magazine. It has sold over 400,000 copies worldwide, including Chinese and Korean editions. The Chrysanthemum and the Bat was chosen by Time magazine editorial staff as the best sports book of the year. published in Japanese by Simul Publishing Company as Kiku Tabato. It was a bestseller and was reissued in 2005 by Hayakawa Shorten Publishing. Warren Cromartie's autobiography, Slugging It Out in Japan, was co-authored by Whiting. The book was the recipient of a New York Public Library Award for Educational Merit, published in Japanese by Kodansha International as Saraba Samurai Yaku. It sold 190,000 copies in hardcover. The Meaning of the Chiro was published by Warner Books in 2004 and excerpted in Sports Illustrated. It sold 25,000 copies. The Japanese translation, Hishiro Kakame, was published by Hayakawa Shorten and has made many bestseller lists. A revised and updated edition of The Meaning of the Chiro, entitled The Samurai Way of Baseball, was published in trade paperback form by Warner Books in April 2005. Whiting's most popular work is the non-fiction Tokyo Underworld, The Fast Times and Hard Life of an American Gangster in Japan, an account of organized crime in Japan and the corrupt side of U.S. Japan relations. Mario Puzo described the book as a fascinating look at fascinating people who show how democracy advances hand in hand with crime in Japan. Quote, "It was a bestseller on many lists in Tokyo when published in translated form by Kadokawa, selling over 300,000 copies in hardcover and paperback in Japan alone, and was chosen as one of the top 10 books on Japan in an article by the scholar Jeff Kingston, writing in the #1 Shimbun. Tokyo Underworld is being developed into a TV series, with Whiting working as a consultant on the project. Equal to Tokyo Underworld, Tokyo Outsiders, about foreign criminals in the Japanese underworld, has been published in Japanese, and an English version is in the works. Whiting is also in the process of writing another book on Japan's post-war characters. I have a 150,000-word draft, Whiting said, but unfortunately I picked the wrong 150,000. Now I've got to go back and replace them with the right ones." Quote, he said he rewrites all his books multiple times before publication. Whiting has also written 20 books in Japanese, mostly collections of the columns and articles he has written. His works have sold an aggregate of nearly 2 million copies in North America and Japan combined. In addition, he has authored a manga series about a gaijin ballplayer in Japan, entitled Reggie, and published by Kodansha Comic Morning that sold 750,000 copies in graphic novel form. His latest work is a biography of the Japanese pitcher Hideo Nomo, who played in the U.S. Major Leagues and was National League Rookie of the Year in 1995. The book was published in 2011 by PHP in Japanese. In addition to his books, Whiting has been published in numerous periodicals, such as the New York Times, the Smithsonian, Sports Illustrated, Newsweek, Time, and U.S. News and World Report. He is also one of very few Westerners to write regular columns in the Japanese press. From 1979 to 1985, he was a columnist for the Japanese-language daily Sports. From 1988 to 1992, he wrote a weekly column for the popular magazine Shukan Asahi. From 1990 to 1993, he was a reporter, commentator for News Station, the top-rated news program in Japan. Since 2007, he has written a weekly column for Yukan Fuji, a major evening daily newspaper in Japan. He has written extensively on current issues impacting both Nippon professional baseball and Major League Baseball, including a 4-part series, which was published in the Japan Times, followed by an in-depth series on Sadaharu O, Trey Hillman, Bobby Valentine and Hideo Nomo for the same paper. In October 2011, he wrote a three-part series for the Japan Times on the talented but troubled Japanese pitcher Hideki Irabu, who had died in California 2 months earlier of an apparent suicide. In a shifting era of globalization, Whiting is one of the few sports experts to explore the transnational flows of athletics. In his works he not only examines how different cultures have influenced the game of baseball, but how the game of baseball has helped influence and shape cultural identity across the globe. He is also an insightful commentator on the influence of the Yakuza on the Japanese power structure and the dark side of Japanese-American relations since the end of the Second World War. In April 2005, Whiting was honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award by the Foreign Sports Writers Association of Japan. You Gotta Have War and Slugging It Out in Japan appeared in the book 501 Baseball Books Fans Must Read Before They Die. Tokyo Giants Controversies and Banning from Tokyo Dome. Whiting was banned from the Tokyo Dome for 2 years in 1987 after publishing an interview with Warren Cromartie in the Japanese magazine Penthouse, in which Cromartie criticized Yomiuri Giants front office executives and LT. He was banned again, indefinitely, in 1990, after writing an investigative report for the magazine Shukan Asahi, which showed the Giants were falsifying attendance figures. The Yomiuri front office had claimed that every Giants home game played in the Tokyo Dome drew a capacity crowd of 56,000. However, Whiting counted the seats, which totaled 42,761, and then the standing room at several Giants games, which averaged 3,500, demonstrating that the maximum audience for a baseball game could not have been much more than 46,000. Whiting returned to the Dome for the first time as a reporter in 2004 to cover an opening day match between the New York Yankees and the Tampa Bay Rays. Other professional activities. In addition to his work as a writer, Whiting has delivered speeches at Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania, Stanford, Temple University, Occidental College, Michigan State University, the International House of Japan, the American Chamber of Commerce in Japan, CLSA, and the Japan Society of New York, among other institutions. He has also appeared in numerous documentaries about Japan and on such shows as CNN's Larry King Live, the PBS McNeil-Lehrer NewsHour Nightline, ESPN's Sports Central, HBO's Real Sports and All Things Considered. On July 19, 2015, Whiting launched his own weekly podcast entitled Robert Whiting's Japan. It is available on SoundCloud and via iTunes. Family. Whiting is married to Makiko Kondo, who recently retired as an officer for the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. In her 25-year career she was posted in Geneva, Mogadishu, Karachi, Tanyang, Penang and Dhaka, among other locations. Her last post, in Stockholm, was as representative for Scandinavia, an ambassador-level position. Representation. Whiting's literary agent is Amanda Urban at ICM.